Although the SW20 MR2 is slowly creeping up in value, it's the car you got if you wanted a mid-engine rear-wheel drive sports car at an affordable price. Its small, lightweight chassis makes it a very fun little car to drive. It's also very popular amongst car enthusiasts because of the nostalgia it brings to the table, the pop-up headlights, and the fact that you can tune it to make a lot of power. Some people even swap the engine out to more modern engines like the K20 for example. Yes, it is a very reliable platform because it is a Toyota after all. But if you are in the market for one, you still need to look out for certain things like any other used car to prevent headaches in the long run. What are those things? Well, here are the things you need to check if you're buying a used Toyota MR2. Rust. I bet you're already expecting the problem of rust. It is an old 90s Japanese sports car after all. Since it's pretty much as old as some of us, rust may form over time. The most common areas where rust may form on this car are on the seals and the rear arches. But that can also spread over time, so take your time to inspect the car all over. It is also a good idea to check for rust underneath the carpet inside the boot. You might also want to know that there is foam located inside the rear of the seals from the factory. This foam collects water over time, which may cause rust. If you can, it won't hurt to check underneath the car as well. If you end up seeing rust on the actual chassis of the car, you might want to give other MR2s in the market a chance because rust on the chassis is a very difficult thing to deal with and it will surely take more money than you anticipated just to fix it. Engine, radiator and leaks. The MR2's engine is very durable if maintained properly. But if you're after a turbo, they would usually require more care than usual. You would need to check for oil, coolant and exhaust leaks. If you are looking at a high mileage MR2, especially if it is a turbo MR2, look out for smoke and big end knocks. Small stone chips and rust can actually damage the radiator over time because of its low location, so take extra effort in inspecting leaks. Leaking water is also not unheard of with MR2s. If you suspect that the MR2 you are looking at is leaking water, this could be a pain to deal with later on. One major cause of this are a few copper heater hoses that run over the fuel tank. Over time, they tend to crack at the brackets. Dealing with this isn't a simple job because the fuel tank would need to come out along with the handbrake cable. Oil leaks are also very common with SW20s. Places where it may leak oil are from the cam covers, distributor O-rings, and the head gasket. While you're checking the engine, take a look at the alternator as well because they tend to also fail because of oil leaks. Smoke. All of the things I'm telling you in this video applies to the turbo MR2s, but there are also issues specific to them, mostly smoke related. Upon starting the car, check for blue smoke, white smoke, smoke from the dipstick tube, and a lot of smoking when accelerating hard and decelerating. When driving, you should also be experiencing boost at around 3000 RPM. If not, this is actually something to worry about. If it overheats while on boost, this could mean you have a cracked block. This wouldn't really apply to you if you're planning on swapping out the engine. Accident history because of snap oversteer. A lot of people actually associate the SW20 MR2 with its infamous snap oversteer. Thankfully, Toyota fixed this issue with the 1993 and beyond models. They would feature upgraded suspension components, a bigger anti-roll bar, increased wheel size to 15 inches, larger brakes, and wider tires. But the same thing cannot be said about the pre-1993 models. They would most of the time catch drivers off guard while out in the wet. Badly made repairs to a crashed MR2 may leave it driving poorly. So, if you're looking at the pre-1993 MR2, regardless if the owner says it hasn't been involved with any accidents, it's always worth checking the front and rear luggage spaces for any signs of accidental damage. It's also a good idea to test drive the car too. Feel the car as you're driving it. Also, while you're test driving the car anyway, look out for the suspension top mounts, ball joints and shock absorbers as they all suffer with age. You will know when it's time to change those as they would usually affect the handling and ride of the car. Power steering problems are also common, but changing the solenoid is often all you need to do to fix that. A good tip is to test drive the car with the roof panels on so you can hear the unwanted noises better. TBar. The TBar MR2 models are actually one of the main attractions of the MR2 due to its removable roof panels. So if you're after an MR2 with a TBar, it's expected that it will have a leaking problem. Common signs of leaks are stains on the seats, most likely mold and again rust, since the water runs down to the chunks of foam I mentioned earlier. The best way to actually fix the leaking issue is to simply replace all the seals. Extra things to check. Check engine light, electrics, and transmission. The purpose of the check engine light on the dash is to warn you that there might be a problem with the car. If it's on or it's been disabled, make sure you ask the previous owner why before taking it. Also, like any other car, check all of the electrics. This would include windows, speakers, mirrors, radio aerial, heater, washers, central locking and headlights. As for the transmission, MR2 transmissions are very durable, but look out for any unwanted noises like whines or clunks or even grumbling. Oil should be changed regularly. A few MR2 owners even said that gears may grind because of synchro issues. These are just some of the things you would usually need to check if you're considering buying an MR2. But overall, it's a great car, it's somewhat still affordable, it handles great, and it's very reliable because it is a Toyota. It can also be a blank canvas for someone who is looking to do a lot of mods with it because the aftermarket for this car is huge. Are there any more issues I didn't cover in this list? I would love to know in the comment section below. And if you're in the market for a Nissan 350Z, I made a video last time on the things to look out for when buying one. Make sure to check that video out. And with that being said, thanks for watching, keep safe, and I'll see you on the next video.